Yeah, good morning. Tiger Global for the first month had 0 investments. SoftBank is down to 1/5 of its investments in the last Fund 1 to Fund 2. And Fund 1 invested into 91 startups and it was more than, I think, $100 billion. Or Fund 2 invested into 270 startups when it was 600, it was half of that.
The ticket size has gone down.
Okay. So late stage ticket size has gone down.
The deals are still happening, but the ticket size has gone down.
Okay. Yeah, what else?
Angels are less, angels have become more, VCs are very less.
But angels can't replace VCs because both do a different function.
Earlier, I think angels were less, but right now so many angels just operating.
So maybe more and more.
Angel networks have become.
Angels are coming in.
Sorry?
Retail angels.
Small ticket size angels are coming. Okay.
The focus is shifting from growth and scaling up to profitability, which
Very good. So scale at any cost was SoftBank's mantra till in 2021. But now it's profitability. In fact, I put a poster also looking for profitable startups and only 2 people applied because profitability in startups somehow samajh nahi aaya logo ko. But that's the language now. VCs are saying how big is your runway, what's your profit.
That's the fundamentals of business. If you're not profitable, then why are you in business?
So, but we didn't know that. Somehow startups didn't know that till 2 quarters, 3 quarters ago. Something else also changed in the last 2022. IPOs happened and something else also changed.
Yeah, so taking public money, just not depending on the VC funds, but also going public.
Yeah, so some plans collapsed because of that. If you're all following the startup world, people, the SoftBanks, the late stage investors were expecting a healthy gain in the IPOs. But Zomato was minus 60%, Paytm was minus 70%, Zomato was 21 times subscribed, still they are minus 4. So today SoftBank has a book loss for from Paytm, from their Policy Bazaar, they had a book loss. They were expecting exit in IPO, they have a book loss because of this IPOs. So that has become a fallacy. So the SoftBank's tigers have become scared that they will not get, they'll get a loss. In fact, after investing in the late stage rounds for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, waiting and then getting a book loss is like, forget IRR, book loss, you invested 100, you are getting 60. So therefore they are they don't know what to do. So with me, like how the IPO actually opened the eyes and that they thought that post IPO, the Zomatos, the Paytms will be in the hyperscale mode because the foundation is made, they can easily grow 30, 40, 50%. But that didn't happen because they also were pushed to show a profitable balance sheet by the public markets. Public markets don't understand startup lingo. Yeah? So that was a big eye opener for the late stage investors and therefore they are kind of paralyzed and they are not investing globally. They are not investing in this. Yes, we can go to the next one. So this is some of the, I would have loved to go step by step, but it's like shown all the points at one side. So this is what has changed. So it's still 20% alive in the fast commerce space, quick commerce space, that everybody is burning cash with the expectation that we'll get a monopolistic position. But that's a unfulfilled dream most probably. So people have analyzed startups and they say 50 startups are burning cash, hoping to reach a monopolistic position across domains. But maybe one would be able to achieve that Google or Facebook type monopolistic position. The rest will not be able to achieve. So the VCs are saying, and SoftBank has invested in 30 out of 100 unicorns in India. So technically he may have only one Facebook or not even have that. And does it cover the return of his high 100 million plus investments or not? It doesn't. Mathematically also it doesn't balance. So that's why they've kind of slowed down and kind of gone to ground zero. What do they do? I was with a consultant who kind of dabbled with the startup space and he stepped back. He said, culture match nahi hota Girish. So I said, why? So he said, the culture of shoot, ready, aim versus the traditional culture, you aim, ready, shoot. So you need a lot of bullets if you shoot, ready, aim. And startups had it. My friend Cred, has it. He had tons of, so he could get all the lovely models to do these ads without worrying about monetization. Let the people come on my app. Tomorrow I'll think of nowhere seen nowadays with I think 3 billion valuation of credit. Yeah, nowhere seen because of shoot, ready, aim. Yeah, happy to do all that because they were fueled by investors and they also enjoyed the party, but the party is now over. Then anybody can tell me what we understand by the principal agent problem? Anybody's heard of it? The principal agent problem, quite popular in the startup ecosystem.
What's the principle?
That's what I'm asking you all. I'll tell you, of course.
Problem.
Principal agent problem.
So is it somewhere related to when we raise funds, there is a person, is it in a way directed towards the lead investor or something? Or the
See,
person
principal is the owner. So in Asian Paints, in Marico, principal is Mr. Mariwala. And the agent is Mr. Chadda, Sanjeev Chadda, who's the CEO. So this is the principal agent problem. And of course, Mr. Mariwala has all the right after 2 years, Sanjeev, you're not doing a good job, you can leave. Yeah. So that's the principal agent problem, that you trust on your CEO and if he's not doing a good job, you can replace him. So this got accentuated in the startup ecosystem where the principal, in Mariwala, in this case SoftBank or Tiger or Kala, these are the principals. But because they were in that nobody, somebody, everybody game. Because like example, Go Mechanic. Go Mechanic had Sequoia, it had Oreos, it has so much. So who was the principal? So Oreos thought Sequoia is the principal, Sequoia thought the third VC is the principal. And the founders all had 10-11% equity. 2 founders had 11% equity. And they were under pressure to scale. So they had a term sheet from SoftBank. They started with 1.2 billion. They wanted to be a unicorn. COVID winter came down to 640 million. SoftBank, दूध का जला छाछ भी फूक फूक के पीता है stage. So they took 9 months to audit and they hired EY to audit their books. And then they discovered that there were some fake garages whom they were billing and there was round tripping of funds. And then the principal who has to answer. See, if this would have happened in Marico, what would have happened? Mr. Harish Malewala would have come and stood in the front. Satyam case, we all know the principal comes in the front and answers. You have no principal. The poor founders had to face it. I've got stories of in such cases where startups kind of collapsed and who has to answer? Now Go Mechanic has customers, Go Mechanic has dealers, there is some transaction, suddenly money disappears. So who has to answer the customers or people who were expecting, they would have done some warranty business, taken some money advance, who has to answer? So that's the principal agent problem which is kind of missing in the startup ecosystem. Logically the principal has to review and he is responsible, he is answerable after a point because I am owning 90% equity, I am owning 80% equity, I have to answer but the VCs don't answer, right? So that's the principal agent quite accentuated. And today a VC is saying was if I have to answer, I have to run it, I have to sit inside instead of just reviewing from outside once in a quarter. So many stories, Zilingo, Singapore, Ankita, yeah.
So what they are doing now, principal agents now?
So what they are doing now, we'll understand in the post, what is happening in the post that this part. I'll tell you what they are doing in the post. This is the pre. So that's why I'm saying it's an era shift. This what we are seeing is an era shift and people are having sleepless nights both in the late stage fundraise startup ecosystem, jo startups late stage, they were expecting funds because they were burning cash. Share chat, so many, there are there who were like next round has to happen, Go Mechanic, otherwise they cannot run the ship. And this is the post era, which is because they are not raising funding, what will happen? So that's the post era will come. What are VCs doing? What are investors doing in this post era? We'll come to understand that. And in fact, the trust is shaken. Sequoia, 40-year-old VC, 6 billion plus worth of assets in India, 50 billion worth of assets globally. And SoftBank would trust a Sequoia. It would easily invest into the startup which Sequoia has done the earlier rounds. So much trust. But now that trust is broken. So late stage VCs are kind of, because of the episodes which happened, that they are very careful and they won't. Because they believe now it's a game created by Sequoia and early founders to get enriched by higher valuations by SoftBanks and the Tigers. And they are losing out in this game. So this game is getting changed now. So late stage investors are the biggest losers. The SoftBanks, Tigers, their balance sheets are full in red, billions of dollars of losses last quarter by SoftBank. And people are having existential questions. What are you doing, Mr. Midas Trust, Matasuti Son? What are you doing? Yeah, their existential questions are there. This, as I mentioned, it got proven in the IPO that Paytm, Zomato, all these, no hyper growth is happening. They're struggling to even do a single digit to minor double digit growth. Actually, they've reduced their marketing cost, so customer acquisition gets impacted because they want to do profits. So that chain, it's leading to a downward spiral. Quite a few, Byju's, again, second round of sacking. So they are in a downward spiral. So my guesstimate is Byju's may even shut down White Hat Junior because it's a 1,000 crore loss for them for the last quarter. Just imagine you bought a company, you valued it at whatever, $500, $600 million, a very early stage company technically, 1 year, 1.5 year old company. So this is visible in the, and Byju's is valued at what, 20 billion or whatever. It's a huge monolith, so to say, but still it's on a downward spiral now. And it's tough to manage a startup with whatever money you have in the bank. So that's the best quote I hear these late stage founders saying. I've got this much money in the bank. How does that answer anything? Whether you're 10-year-old, you're supposed to IPO, because every industry has a peak. Yeah. Paytm could have made money at that peak, but then today, Morning Times of India, such a huge ad. Be with the leaders. Now, who are the leaders? PhonePe says, I am the leader in UPI. I have a 50% market share. So the industry shifted. So Paytm is forced to now become a follower. So it was a leader. It had a 90% wallet share before the PhonePe, before all this, before UPI. It didn't make any money that time, thinking future mein bana lenge. And today, the opportunity to make money for a Paytm is less and less. It's getting cornered because there are so many others. Now, if Paytm wants to sell insurance, there are so many others already selling insurance, including the agents. If Paytm wants to send loans, there are so many others already selling. So all these assumptions were unvalidated, and that's what SARTHY is kind of the post era. Why do you need this strategic control? So that whatever assumptions you have should be validated today as at earlier stage as possible for the startup, instead of postponing, because no one is going to fuel now. That fuel tankers have all gone. So you have to create a sustainable startup, sustainable business, or you may create nothing because there is no one to fuel unsustainable unicorns or what they used to say, passing you blow the balloon and pass it. SoftBank, unfortunately, was the last. He had a huge balloon, burst. So all the muck has come on their face, the late stage investors' face. So let's understand the post era. Priyanshu? Yeah. So what is going to happen in the post era? Due diligence is plus. Even for a 50 lakh investment from an angel network, expect a 3 to 6 month due diligence. Yeah? Because the auditors are also on fire. That what kind of due diligence have you done? So expect the auditors or the early stage investors to sit in your company 3 days, 5 days in a month to kind of ye leke aao, ye book leke aao, kind of expect good amount of due diligence to happen, both continuous and one time at a investment event. Be ready for it. In fact, if I were a startup founder, whatever stage I am in, I will be on a self DD mode. In fact, SARTHY is a checklist. This is your self DD. Be prepared. Anybody might ask you any books anytime. Send me this cash flow. Send me this invoice of this customer. Send me this payment. So DD is going to be 5 times harder and 5 times lengthier for startups, whatever stage. Yeah? So we have to be prepared for that. The question they are asking now is the foundational question which a good number of investors, even banks used to ask when they used to sign debt instruments of reasonable amounts. How big is the moat? What is the competitive advantage which you are going to create with, and as earlier stage you plan this moat. I'm not saying create it, but as earlier stage this moat is planned around the core franchise. So ask Mr. Vijay Shekhar Sharma, what's your moat? And he'll struggle to answer it. There's technically no moat which Paytm has created after burning so much of cash. Ask PhonePe. Ask these unicorns which we have. Very few are able to answer what is, you spent so much money. You spent like, PhonePe has a 12,000 crore, Byju has a 12,000 crore accumulated loss. Yeah. So all these have created such huge burns. But what moat have they created with the burn? This question still is tough to answer for them. So this question is being asked more and more even in early stage investments. What is the moat you are creating? And show me the plan, show me the blueprint of the moat. We are not saying, and some proof of the moat, that okay, I've done this moat creation in this small model of the moat, and I'm expecting that with the money I'm going to achieve this competitive advantage or moat. this comment came in from Infosys founders when they spent 40 years of Infosys a few months back. That they dreamt of building an organization which earns respect of all stakeholders, customers, suppliers, investors, banks. All stakeholders should respect. And that's why quarter ends and you have their balance sheet, P&L on the first week of the previous quarter. Transparently shared with everyone, no hiding, no hanky-panky. Versus Byju's 21-22 balance sheet. Sorry, 2021 balance sheet, they were unable to file till June, July 2022. So this is the, people are looking for such founders who have the drive to build organizations which can earn the respect of all stakeholders. That's the kind of drive, innovation of a product, IIT degree, funding, all this is different. Are you here to create a sustainable organization which can earn respect from all stakeholders? That's the question which investors are asking. Yeah. Any comments till now? Am I too heavy, too gloomy? Okay, you are on the same page? So, one Decacon founder suddenly decided I have to visit the US. So, he asked his team to book a charter flight costing 85 lakhs. So, Monday he decided he has to go to the US. Charter flight was Wednesday or Thursday. Tuesday evening he is saying mood change ho gaya, cancel. Lost to the company 85 lakhs. And did he flinch even? Did he feel pain? 85 lakhs? Investor money. If your father would have given this money, your father, even if you are Ambani's son, he would have put a gun on your head saying, what are you doing with my money, man? So I'll give you the next story, close to this story only, and from the company I worked in, which is the Lohia Group. So Mr. Rajkumar Lohia, who's the founder of Lohia Group, his father was the family head. So in the Marwadis families, you know, the family head kind of controls the cash, and it was a reasonably rich Marwadi family, came up from the trading. So Mr. Rajkumar Lohia had already done 3 businesses and failed. So it was the 4th business of making textile machines, which he had kind of initiated. And his father had funded, his father had given him the money to build the machine, design everything, and he got the first order also from the customer. And the textile machines are huge. That time it used to cost almost a crore, I think, to kind of manufacture that machine. So his design, everything was perfect, but he ran out of cash while he was manufacturing the machine for the first customer. And he went back to his father saying, Dad, and he knew father had money, that this machine is ready, I've got the order, I have to just finish this machine and I'll get the money. His father refused. Such a tough time for him. He must have had multiple days of sleepless nights where everything is there, customer is there, product is almost ready, he needs just to buy some parts in this machine and he's going to deliver it to the customer and it can start, it will start that trigger. First machine, say next 2 machines order, next 5 machines order, and it will create that ripple effect. So he had 4 or 5 sleepless nights, and then the only option his father gave him, cousin ki factory chal rahi hai, go and work there. Marwadi is easy, you can work in each other's, but this guy didn't want to work in someone else's, he was very, so he took a train and went to the customer and requested him, see, I'm stuck here and I've almost made the machine, but I've run out of cash and I'm not able to build it. The customer was benevolent. He cut the check in advance for him. That's how the machine was built, and he, from 1 machine to 3 machines from the same customer to 5, and today it's a 1,000 crore plus, I think 1,500 crore empire in India. Yeah. So that's the respect which family money or investor money should have technically, versus you taking a charter flight because you believe you are entitled, because you've raised investor money. So this is the change which we see. Frugality, respect for capital. So nobody can expect to burn investor money for whims and fancies, so to say. And there are so many case studies for us to kind of laugh at when we sit outside here. What did this guy do? Yeah. So this is very much expected. Frugality, respect for capital. You take, I respect Zerodha. They've taken 100 crore salary as founders each, with a 5,000 crore top line, 2,500 crore net profit. So I'm allowed to take 100 crore salary with customer money. Yeah, with me, all of us. What has changed in this era? So if we,
what is going wrong? So, for example, as you talked about the family businesses.
yeah.
I mean, the investors who actually put in money have keep these checks and balances, right? So, I mean, then there is a board seat also where they take decision that what you can do and what you Byju's, maybe then the unicorn that is Unacademy, Vedantu. So, I mean, what is not right with them? I mean,
That's what I'm trying to explain through so many points, that lots is going wrong because founders don't know the distinction between, actually capital should be two colored. Investment capital is 10 times more than customer capital. If you are earning money from the business, founders don't see this line. So
but
this.
they must have created lots of channels to reach to that level, because these startups, I mean, some couple of $1 billion companies. So it is not like they have been built overnight and then they don't know what is right and what is wrong. So don't you think there's some significant change in the market maybe which might not be able to help them in terms of reaching what they have expected earlier?
Actually,
I'm just thinking aloud because
no, so as I was mentioning, the objective of founders was fundraise. It was not building a sustainable unicorn with a strong value proposition. And some smart founders cracked it. I interacted with a few, and I'm a sales guy myself, and I realized, oh shit, this is a powerful sales pitch. I have to sell a comb to a bald guy, and you could sell it. So you've seen the movie, forgetting the sell a pen movie. So we've seen some, but at the same time, you don't create a sustainable business by being a wonderful, powerful salesman backed by a coveted degree. You don't, right? So these are the lessons which hard way have, like, and these are mirror lessons for everyone, be it founders, be it investors. The sustainable unicorns and businesses are not built by weak fundamentals or weak foundation. And that's where it comes the answer side. After that, how do you build a sustainable unicorn then? If it's a reset, if the industry is pressed a reset button, it's a pre and post era, and post era, we are going to create something new with new knowledge. Then what is that new knowledge is what we'll come to. Yeah? What is that new knowledge? First of all, kind of the idea of this slide was to build that foundational that we are in a new era, boss. A lot is going to change. I cannot, if my objective is only fundraise, maybe the sustainable, objective of building a sustainable unicorn or sustainable business is weak. So if that is my objective and funding is one aspect which will help me build it, it's a different story. The story changed only to fundraise, what I saw with these decacons, unicorns. And fundraise, the line between investor money or capital and customer money or revenue and profit was missing. People didn't know that. It's basic fundamental knowledge. The Lohiyas told me like a Marwadi learns it from his mother's womb. So it's so fundamental a knowledge. No, you don't need a degree or to understand this gap between investor money and profit. Yeah. And last is there's 300 billion dry powder sitting. So because the VCs are confused what to do, and they've raised this, they've taken commitments from their LPs, and so this much money is sitting to be invested. But of course now for profit with the right founders. Yeah. So and we'll understand how VCs can also win in this game looking at this new era, the pre and post era. Yeah. With me, everyone? Yeah.
So that means there is a small wrong from VC's part also, because they didn't do the due diligence considering the founder aspects also. Do you agree to that point?
See, it is said that trust is high in the startup ecosystem. When there's an IIM Ahmedabad educated person who's worked in McKinsey, and so you believe I can trust this person. I don't need to, because see, due diligence is tough. We've seen from the Adani, like someone outside sitting is able to give a 76-page report and remove so many holes from public data. He's not got any insider inside Adani to give him any private data. Whatever he's published is public data, right? But so it's tough. Why didn't the auditors publish the same thing? Why did the people who are doing investments into Adani Group not? So all these are, so trust, but the trust is shaken now. So therefore the DDs and all will be much more stringent as mentioned here. They were less stringent because the trust factor was there. Once I looked at the background, I liked the individual, I started trusting him or her. But that is shaken now. Now father will, even father as we see, son is startup founder, he will not trust easily because it's shaken. Right? Of course, you can blame them. Why didn't you do DD? But how much DD can you do here? How much DD can you do in the books?
Because it's in billions.
Sir, there's a case study. Clara raised, I think, more than $1 billion from SoftBank Within 6 months, money got over. At 46 billion they raised, it's a number one fintech in Europe, Clara. They had to reduce a down round at 6.5 billion in 6 months' time. So that's the kind of, what did the DD do? Where did the money go? Was it for past bills, whatever? So, and SoftBank investing $1 billion, trust. See, people trusted, but that's shaken. They trusted the earlier investors trusted the founders, trusted the management team, the board, but it got shaken. It is shaken, significantly shaken as on date.
I would like to share one insight over here. I had a chance to interact with Mr. Jitendra Goyal, Zomato founder, co-founder. So I asked him this question that how does it feel to be a unicorn founder? So he said that there is nothing to be happy about being a unicorn founder. So, and he even mentioned me that that if you raise up money at $1 billion valuation, so the investors would like you to raise it 1.5 billion now. 1.5 billion investor would like to raise at 2 billion now. So from a founder's perspective, we are in this loop of raising more and more and more and more funds in order to give them better valuation for their returns. So this is the world from
So to some extent, this point blames the VCs, that you forced me into this game of regular fundraisers, and after a point I reached dead end. Yeah. So you can, that's what I said, it's a blame game, who's right, who's wrong, but it's a reset finally also for both the investor side and the startup. What am I building? If I'm building VC's valuation game, which maybe happened for Clara, that means SoftBank took it at 46 billion and then 6 months later no money, and therefore they had to raise at 6.5 billion. So you can blame everyone, but the idea is as a VC plus early investor plus startup founder, there's a reset which is being pressed. Like, we can't work with these conditions or these terms or these realities. We have to change things quickly, fast. Until that time, let's pause. Yeah, that's the goal. Yeah, go ahead. So actually, Sarthy somehow has become the best suited to manage this reset. Yeah, we are at the, as I was mentioning, we are at the space with venture capital plus venture intelligence. So we are in fact saying that there's a control which we can install inside the organization to kind of monitor, support, guide, and therefore control the trajectory of that startup, right? And of course provide capital at the right time with the right intent. So somehow we've spent 2 years in this space with this marriage of capital and intelligence, and the reset is helping Sarthy kind of bring what it has to the table for a lot of startups, including high invested startups also. Because they also are believing, yeah, we need this control inside now. Bahut ho gaya, audit in once in 3 months, founder submits different data points, sometimes he'll talk cost of acquisition, sometimes he'll talk number of downloads, sometimes he'll talk. So they need this control inside also. The late stage investors or even all investors need this control inside instead of just outside as an audit or a review mechanism. So, and we started with this vision, this high failure rate was what enamored us, and we said that we have to, our core objective is to increase the success rate of startups by strengthening the business fundamentals. Yeah? From the very foundation, is there value creation? Is there value for the customer? Is there a strong business model to ensure that the value exchanges? So Mr. Vijay Shekhar Sharma, after his IPO, said business model is work in progress for Paytm. And he was literally bombasted by all the analysts sitting that, boss, you are a listed company, you are valued at whatever 50,000 crores, you are saying your business model is a work in progress. So, but unfortunately that was the reality. He just said what was real for Paytm. Yeah? So, but Sarthy asked these questions at the very early stage, pre-revenue stage. What is going to be your business model? Is it validated? Yeah? If not, build it now and validate it through a more deliberative strategy approach. As I said, the most missing piece in this jigsaw puzzle of startup funding, scale, unicorn is this strategy piece. Using our unique frameworks. So our heroes are our frameworks. I'll be sharing a few, we'll be doing a few exercises also. Everyone just have a blank A4 sheet. If you don't have, you can take it from here. Yeah? If anybody needs. Yeah. And we are not saying these are answers. These are frameworks. So you'll get validation, or we work together to see what are the answers to the questions raised through these frameworks. Yeah. So it's not that strategy may not provide the answer, but in life it's important to, am I asking the right questions for which the answers are required? That's also important. So, kind of strategy helps you ask the right questions. Therefore, enhancing the investment worthiness. Yeah? So, the startup investment worthiness will be enhanced, and you will get access to funding opportunities, the developed startups, which I said SARTHY is the marriage of intelligence and capital both. Will this approach guarantee success? May not, but it will guarantee a much higher probability. So, finally, startup investment is a probability game. Even the sequoias believe that one of them, 1 of 10 or 1 in 50 will become a multi-bagger, maybe a monopolistic like a Facebook or a Google. That's their intention. But we are saying that even the 49 probability increases, of the 49 also winning medium if not big. Very little will kind of filter out. So, people using these frameworks might even decide to pivot, to kind of rework on the problem they are solving. That's the power of these frameworks. It helps you reset early instead of resetting too late, and after going IPO saying my business model is work in progress, which enables you to leverage the opportunities more effectively, at the same time limiting errors. So, you conserve capital. This entire model is capital conserving mode, because as I said, we really value investor capital versus customer capital. Let's balance the two, so that the startup has both together instead of just surviving, and if this investor capital moves out, you are nowhere. Yeah. So, our vision is to improve the success rate by installing a deliberated strategy approach at the core of the setup. So, therefore, the DD requirement, the review requirement, because it is the core, I am a part of that. So, tomorrow there is no blame game between the investor and the startup ki uske karan fail hua, uske karan fail hua, because this is at the core of the setup. And what is the core of the setup? Of course, is the entrepreneur's mind. The first reason the startup exists is because of the entrepreneur. Our thought process through our experts who are strategic experts and mentor investors. So, they come with the domain expertise as a topper. They understand our frameworks and they come with the domain expertise. And through our corporate, we know the business fundamentals. So, I had joined Whirlpool and I had got a code book that, okay, this is the do's and don'ts. Now, arm's length is something which is very common even in small or medium sized corporates. That was, I cannot have my brother as a supplier and pay him for the invoices. So, these are simple SOPs which somehow are missing in the startup. So, we have to start from ABC. Because what is do's and don'ts in the startup ecosystem, and you are responsible. The principle is different. See, if you are 100% of your company, you make your brother your supplier, your employee, your everything. But if you've taken money from something, there's another principle also. And you are the agent, you are the CEO, the Marico example I gave you. So, you have to be answerable to this principle, and arm's length is something which is a very basic expectation, that you don't have any relatives or as your suppliers, your co-employees. It's a very basic expectation in the startup ecosystem. It's specific to the case through control experimentation. So, the frameworks help you even experiment. It's not that answers are there in this. It will help you experiment with these frameworks. And versus, this is the traditional approach. When I'm not having that mission control, I'll be doing the trial and error method, hunch, hack. A founder has done it this way, B founder has. So, now because it's reset, earlier it was like, how can I make a pitch as wonderful as XYZ unicorn founder? So, all this is reset now, because the investors only disappeared for that game. Yeah? Investors need this deliberated strategy approach at the center to support the startups. Yeah? So, this is the difference. Any questions? Happy to take it. Otherwise, I can go forward to the exercise. Yeah? Cool? Go forward. So, this is the startup scenario. There are 105, some say 110 unicorns. 44 were born in 2021. Supplying 2022, I think it's 9 or 10. It's actually tapered down the number of unicorns, and 1 or 10, but still 9 or 10 startups fail, and the sources also mentioned. 75% of VCs invested startups don't return back cash, and only 1 in 100 return big. So, this is what enamored us as strategists. We said, why this is not the traditional business ecosystem. Why it should be so poor matrix? Because finally, as an ecosystem, we have to generate wealth. Yeah, as 1,000 startups, 50,000 startups, you have to generate wealth. You cannot be negative as an ecosystem, right? So, that's the thing which enamored us to kind of build these strategy at the core frameworks and support the startups early in the game. Yeah. So, this is the first thought trigger, first exercise. We will spend 5 minutes. You can write down for your startup what are the biggest reasons for startup failure as per you, which you've seen for your startup, for other startups. And what mistakes would you be most careful of? In your startup, what are the mistakes you will be most careful of as you build your startup into a sustainable unicorn? And what are your concerns, key factors? And what would help you to avoid those mistakes? If you can answer these 4 questions for your startup, then we can have a discussion. Less than 5 minutes, Priyanshu, less than 5 minutes. आप pause भी कर सकते हैं. Yeah, anybody? Go ahead.
For the first question, validation of the business model.
Okay, that's your
Yes.
reason. That's the reason for the startup
If
failure.
it's not validated,
Okay.
it definitely is gonna fail.
Okay. Anybody else has a different answers to the first question? Then we'll go to the second and third.
Right time, the capital is not unavailable.
So funding. Okay, next.
Clear plan for revenue, initial
There's no.
plan,
Okay.
plan for
So revenue model missing. Okay. It's a part of the business model only, but we can take it separately. Yeah. What issues, mistakes? Second question. Yeah, you want to say something, Pratik? Go
I
ahead.
think timing,
Timing.
very low TAM, total addressable market,
Okay.
and then I have written product not market fit.
So, do you believe Zomato has product market fit, Paytm has product market fit? It's a very widely used term. Yeah.
I think it has a product market fit, but something which gentleman has mentioned about revenue model. See, in today's scenario, so I am a pro Zomato customer, and I have never used Swiggy in my lifetime because of my connection with Dipinder Goyal. That's my loyalty to my senior. But otherwise, other customers are moving towards Swiggy because of more discounts, which is being offered on a Swiggy app or maybe a better interface. I'm not commenting on to that. So what has happened? Zomato has gone public, so they have reduced down their discount slabs. Swiggy is still infusing funds taken from investors. So there is a lack of, I don't know.
No, it's simple answer. On a scale of 1 to 10, what is Zomato's product market fit?
Oh, product market fit, definitely.
8, 9? See, Rajiv, Rajan Anandan mentioned that product market fit is 9 or 10 on 10. When you ask your customer, tomorrow I am shutting down, what happens to your life? If he says, no boss, I am going to commit suicide, I am going to die, I need, then you are 9 on 10. If he says, boss, life may move on, I will switch to A, switch to B, switch to C, I love you, but boss, theek hai, world is changing, so then you have a 6 or 7, you don't have a 8, 9, 10. Yeah? And you have a 3, 4, yeah, so of course, competitor replacement, the more competitor replacement, the weaker the product market fit. The more competitor replacements, the weaker the product market fit. And you have a 3 only when you ask this question to your customers, how many customers would you recommend me in the future? And if he says, how likely are you to recommend, the NPS question, how likely are you to recommend me to others? And if you have an NPS of 50% plus, then you have a 3 for early product market fit. If you have an NPS of say 60% plus, where only 9, 10 is +1, 5 to 6 to 8 is 0, and 1 to 5. So if he's less likely, then you are early product market fit, or maybe you don't have product market fit. So that's how Rajan Anandan explained product market fit. That customers miss you, then only you have a 9 on 10 product market fit technically. And therefore Zomato, they have to keep innovating and creating new products and services for being ahead in the curve and being replacement, tough to replace as a service. Yeah, आप record कर रहे हैं? हाँ, great. Yeah, any other answers from others on what areas are your key fears and concerns? Anybody?
One would be running out of cash.
We just mentioned, yeah,
Yeah.
funding availability. Running.
Also, either losing your good employees or not finding enough good employees.
People, okay.
Yeah, people.
Team. Yeah, go ahead. You had a point? Someone? Yeah.
I think it's good. I was hiding the right challenge for the
People. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. So this is the analysis of close to 111 startup failures. And the biggest reason, of course, is running out of cash. Now, running out of cash has two aspects. You didn't get the next round of funding. You misused the earlier cash generation. These are two aspects to running out of cash. Don't consider running out of cash as next round nahi hua. You didn't use your first rounds effectively, and therefore you run out of cash. That's in fact more relevant. And for 38, almost 40% is. This is actually at the foundational level, where they're saying, boss, you created something which no one wanted. Nobody was, so life didn't change, it moved. And this was reason number 1 in the previous survey, this is reason number 2 now, which is actually the value creation game. And to be frank, I would still put a cred somewhere here only. What it has created, does the market need, that big question with tons of money going into marketing, so many people on the app, but still that critical question, do people need what you have? Yeah? No, they need my loan, they need my insurance. Boss, that's a different game. So you just created a credit card payment app and put whatever millions into it. Yeah? So this is the question which we have, that big reasons for market failure. And then team comes here. Not the right team is 14%, outcompeted in that product market fit game is here. Yeah, flawed business model is number 4, which we've covered. Key reasons for startup failure. Yeah, good, next. Now all these are technically strategic choices. So it's actually at the root of the choices you make. Yeah, and of course the dominant approach remains trial and error. So let millions of people download the app, then we'll figure out what we do. The world changed, UPI came, and therefore millions of people downloaded but are not using your app. So download is a very weak measure today versus DAU, weekly active users. Those are more stronger measures because then only you can. So ShareChat also is stuck in that game. Huge downloads, they even bought Moj and others, but unable to monetize. People advertised also on ShareChat, but they didn't get the response because it's India, BC focus, buying power is weak. So ShareChat is also somewhere there, that millions of users, but not able to build a business model around those users. Therefore, if you don't answer the strategic questions, it will lead to a weak business core and weak fundamentals on which you can build a tower, you can get funding. You are a second time founder, third time founder, you might raise funds, but because the era changed, we are forced to build strong business fundamental businesses to even raise funds today. Earlier that was not 100% correct statement, but today it is becoming more and more a very highly correct statement. You are a second time founder, you are an industry veteran, you are from the VC industry, therefore you know the VC partners. All this is pre-era game. Post-era, it's different. And even if they raise funds, as I said, as an overall ecosystem, we are in big red. And that has to get corrected. Big red is, how can so many startups only be negative? Yeah? So as a big, so that's the pre-post which I was sharing. That as an ecosystem, we have to press the reset button and build fundamentally strong businesses using strategy. Therefore, correcting issues can greatly improve the success rate, and it will be proven. Yeah, we are also eagerly waiting that this venture intelligence and venture capital marriage will lead to a much higher success rate, and it will be visible in the next 2 years. Next. So that's our objective, enhance the investment worthiness, and we'll also share what is the meaning of investment worthiness using a graph, and then provide them access to funding opportunities. So we use our frameworks to assess. Like NanoClean was a startup we assessed, we felt funding ready, we took them to investors, or give them gaps for which we have the MINDS program, Mentor Investor Network. I'll share that also. Yeah? And therefore this increases win-win for startup also, for investor also. Investors are also getting invested in worthy startups, which SARTHY is attempting or has installed that control inside to make them win. They are also happy with the kind of flow which we are giving to them. Yeah, and it's not a one-time thing also. See, as a startup goes to the next level challenges come. So the control will be different for an early stage startup versus a mid-stage startup. It cannot be the same. Yeah, next. So this is the meaning of investment worthiness. There are two axes to it. The x-axis is enterprise strength, which is the team, the problem they are solving, and the y-axis is the returns potential in terms of how big is the market opportunity, what is the competition. So these are the two axes on which we assess the startup. Yeah? And therefore, and our objective is to take it up this graph. If it's here, we'll support it to reach here, then give capital, then reach here, then give the next level of capital. Yeah? So this is our objective, that increase the investment worthiness and therefore the probability of success. So what is return potential definition? It's the potential business value in the startup space in which it operates, and enterprise strength is the inherent strength. So there's a big market, but am I the best suited and am I the best resources to solve that market's challenges? So that's where, and overall you increase the target attractiveness by increasing returns potential and enterprise strength, both the axes you have to move the startup up. Yeah, go to the next one. So this is the 10 parameters on which enterprise strength is built and the 4 parameters on which returns potential is built. So it goes from the team, the business plan, the strategy, which is, as I said, we start from the foundation, the VP, the value proposition, and then the business model. So we ask critical questions of what problem are you solving? Is it an unsolved problem? Yeah? Who are you solving it for? If the TG is unclear, then we have to go back and clarify the TG, because especially early stage startups, the TG has to be very clear. Yeah? Who's your TG? You cannot be targeting too many. Yeah? The market intelligence, the resources and competence. So that we go deeper into all these elements with our strategic control, the resources organization, customer management. And in returns potential, we look at the value potential. So we discussed about the size of the market opportunity, the competition potential. We discussed about how it's related to the product market fit. So if it's hyper competitive, you'll have less product market fit because everybody is trying to do the same thing. Yeah? The replacement potential. So, and of course the change potential. So many startups are accessing, the timing part comes in the change potential. Are you slightly ahead of the curve, a lot ahead of the curve, or are you slightly behind the curve? So that timing part comes in. The world is changing. Are you able to match your speed with the change speed which the world is changing? Because so many people, like Netflix was not the first streaming platform. There were so many before it. Its timing was just perfect, that when 4G had hit and therefore download speeds increased, that time Netflix usage also skyrocketed, not the others. YouTube was not the first video sharing. There were so many others. So all this, the timing was, you can't be ahead or you can't be behind. You have to be at the right time, at the right place to take care of this change potential. Yeah. Any questions on this 10 parameters of enterprise strength and 4 parameters for returns potential? And there are questions under each of these heads. And these are the flags we identify. So if we are not want to go deeper, like when we do assessments, we look at the flags instead of going deeper into all, because we cannot assess over 2 sessions on this. So we look for critical success factors and critical failure factors. Success factors have to be present, then only the enterprise succeeds. Failure factors have to be absent or reduced. So in fact, 2 out of 10 startups whom we assess, we select. The balance 8, we give the critical gaps. These are the critical success factor gaps. You build these and then come back to us for investment. So all 10 get value in this assessment exercise. Yeah? So the next exercise I'm going to give you is actually ask you to write your critical success factors and critical failure factors. You understood the difference? Success factors have to be present or increased. Failure factors have to be absent or decreased. Yeah? And in your control, what are the, in this enterprise strength, what are your critical success factors or critical failure factors? So yeah, go to the next one. So just plot them. Okay, this exercise is before the next one. So this, in this exercise, we are asking you to plot yourself on enterprise strength and returns potential. Where do you plot yourself? And if you want, you can share. Just put the previous one. On these 10 points, actually, you have to give a score out of 5 on all these 10 points. You have to give a score out of 5 on all these 4 points. And then take the average, and therefore plot yourself on the enterprise strength and returns potential. Easy exercise? No issues. You can do it at later stage also. If you do now, just as an example, we can take one and we can learn. So on your team, your business plan, your strategy, your product operation, just give a score out of 5. Yeah, pause. 50, okay. 4 average, okay.
4 is average.
Yeah.
Here my total is coming out to be 50.
1.5, okay. 3.7 average, okay. And any factors you identified? Critical success or critical failure factors. These are very critical. Without this, the business venture may get stuck. You were able to identify?
In that new one, the cigarette filter product I'm talking about, distribution network would be vital segment over
So
here.
then technically it's a failure factor.
Okay.
That the weak distribution network may lead to failure. Yeah, so it's a factor which is on the success factor is which is present and needs to be increased. Failure factor is something which should be like the weak distribution network should not be hamperance.
I think, sorry.
Yeah.
Which is present is good user feedback or like excellent user feedback so far, which means that wider penetration into the market is required.
No,
Again,
in these 10, it's customer management you are saying. The customer management may you are getting repeat customers, reference customers. Therefore, think over it. I'm saying, see, all these are questions.
in that case, my product is
Product is your critical success
product
factor.
is the
Okay,
hero.
very good, very good. So the product is the critical success factor, and where is it? If it's 4, then how can I make it 4.5? Very good. So product is the critical success factor, and absence of distribution is a failure factor. If I have a weak distribution, then I might fail. Very good. Understood how both these factors are critical, and it may be in one of these 10 only your critical success. Identify and you have to work on them. First, critical success factors and critical failure.
I added all these factors and divided by 10.
Yeah.
So the average of the income, then after this, same apply.
Yeah, divide by 4. So you get average. Go to the next slide and you plot yourself here. So this is ideally a 4 to 5, 4 to 5 both axis. This block. Then it's the best. Your investment worthiness is the best. This is medium. This is low. And technically 1, 2, 3 are low. These are medium and these 3 are high. Yeah, we can go ahead. So this is again the second exercise. Third exercise was the pre-post era we discussed. Yeah, we discussed how like I'll give you the case study of IIT-Delhi. So anybody heard of IIT-Delhi? So they were the first startup to introduce mobile insurance. So breakage insurance, theft insurance, and that time internet was online mobiles were less than 10%. So they had to build a huge distribution network. In fact, my friend was the core team member, and backed by Callery. So they raised their seed round in Jan 10, Series A round in Jan 11. Every year there's a round. Their last round was 100 crores in October 16. Yeah, and by June 17, the startup had run out of cash. And they actually, investors kind of pushed them to, they were earlier doing the reinsurance through GIC. So all the claims went to GIC, but GIC being semi-government or government, the claims were getting slow. They were losing customer satisfaction because of claims. So investors said, why don't you only do this? Why don't you build the service network? Why don't you settle claims instead of? So they rebranded from insurance to reassurance, because you cannot sell insurance without a license. And when they ran out of cash, there were claims of all these insurance they had sold in the market. So they had appointed distributors, and Arun Menon was the founder, and he and his brother, again IIT Mumbai guy. So ran out of cash, no cash, the employees were retrenched, but still there were insurance, technically you sold, they used to sell 1,000 rupee worth of insurance at say 500 or 600 rupees with distributor, followed by sub-distributor, followed by retailer. So all these insurance were lying, and there were customer claims. Now the customers would knock at the distributor's end or the retailer's end saying, boss, you sold me this insurance 1 year back, my mobile is broken or lost, repair it and give me. So much so that there were cases on the senior team, founders, no investor to be seen. Now how much did the founders own? Together 18%. Kalari was the number one with 27%. But they were not into the running the business. So all this fell on the founder only. Founder had to spend 1 year in jail. When I read this case study, I didn't know about this case study before. So Sirf Theranos, Elizabeth Homeschool, India may be through our weak loss or whatever, because of the one of the distributors politically connected or whatever. So it's very dangerous to build a business without understanding unit economics and the implications of our actions. They took this decision quickly. In fact, my colleague was a senior leader in the company, and he said he was stopping Arun also, don't take this decision of taking this load on yourself of the settling the claims. Of course, the customer satisfaction score shot up, because they were they even committed 48 hour or some 72 hour, we'll refund you the money if you lost the mobile or repair your mobile, and they built all this infrastructure. But no money to build it, no planning. So therefore, the no strategic core to what direction you are taking. Is it a whim decision or is it backed by enterprise strength? So the idea of showing you along with this, just go forward. Where's the graph? Okay. Go down. There was this graph there, S curve is there, it's missing now. No. Down. Sorry, up, my mistake. Slowly, Priyanshu, no rush. Yeah, there's S curve here. So what I want to say is, in this pre-post era, what is going to change is this multiple rounds of fundraise is going to be very less. Actually, if a startup is building a sustainable enterprise, he has to plan only 2 peaks of fundraise. Outside of the friends family, see, friends family I'm assuming is internal. You put your own money, you put known sources money. But at best you can plan 2 peaks. And actually I was going through what is the reference startup to kind of share with you all, and only one name came to mind. No, all others failed this test of me actually being only having 2 peaks of fundraise. You can decide it to be as big as possible, and then IPO and give benefit to the fundraise. So this, I marked it in red, is showing this is disappearing. Tiger is doing seed fund now. Tiger is saying I'm going to fund the seed investments instead of doing late stage 100 million, because they believe that they want to spread the risk and handhold the startup early. There's a S curve here, I'm sorry it's missing here.
What does it look like?
There's a S curve like this.
Where does it start?
Yeah, yahan pe. There's a dotted line. I'll draw it here. So it's a dotted line, friends and family, and then it curves like this. So this is mid stage, this is late stage. Friends and family, angel, VC. It's a S curve. Yeah. Yeah, so that one, anybody can tell me what is that one organization which came to mind when I said, okay, that's the, because otherwise Zoho, Zerodha, these are the two, but they are not startups, they are bootstrapped companies, 100% or 90% equities with the founders, Zoho, Zerodha. So technically, I couldn't give that as a reference, but there's only one name which came. Anybody? What is that one name of reference which is kind of following this of having only maximum 2 peaks, rarely 1 or 3. You can swing here or there, but maximum 2 peaks, so that your 80-90% energy goes in building the organization versus fundraise. With me? Any guess of the organization which came to mind? They raised $100 million in their first round and became a unicorn. Physics wala.
Yes, physics wala.
First round, $100 million, unicorn. So that was the only organization which came to mind. Like, build a successful enterprise, funding will follow.
So that means they didn't have any pre-seed funding?
Self-funded, self-funded before, till 100 million by, I'm forgetting the name of the VC, but first round 100 million and at unicorn valuation. So that's what startups have to plan for. Don't spend too much energy just running around, thoda paisa leke nahi. You have to plan 2 rounds, and this round may not exist. May, I'm underlining, not exist, because they are going to come down. Maybe SoftBank also announces they are going to do early stage funding deals. They don't have the infrastructure or the organization to support it, but that's the way these people will go, because this has become a very high risk, low negative space for them globally, not only in India. Globally, this has become a negative space for them. Yeah, next. Yeah, so this was the exercise of critical success and failure factors you can identify for your organization. The top 5 critical success factors and the top 5, which we did also now, but anybody else wants to say one more example I can take of critical success factor and critical failure factors for your organization. Yeah, any thoughts from you?
So, I think for our side, on the critical success factor was a business plan.
Business plan, okay.
We have a great business plan, in fact, we have a pretty good return out of it. But on the second part, there was a competition side, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This critical failure. We have a great competition to that.
Okay, hyper competition space. Good.
So that was a critical failure.
So then the differentiation becomes, like, the more differentiated your product, the more you can beat competition with that.
So we are a data company. We supply data to the maps inside the car infotainment system. Normally when we supply the data to the maps company, to the car company, they usually have a middle company, like the maps company, whichever the map which is installed inside the car. They usually copy the data inside every time when we supply the data.
Okay.
And then they resell to their millions of customers which are on the ground utilizing their application. So that's when we think that's a critical failure for our product.
So you have to find an answer before you plan big. If the failure factor is dominant, you have to find an answer before you plan your next steps technically.
Yeah, so right now we are still working on that.
Yeah, good. Anyone else wants to share a success or failure factor? No? Okay, yeah, next. So this is SARTHY's tracks. As I mentioned, this control we are envisaging inside the startup along these 4 tracks. So strategy is the core track. We've just discussed the frameworks on enterprise strength, returns potential. Due diligence is, as I mentioned, is the booking right, like basics, arm's length distance, all this is the due diligence track, which is inside. So therefore the due diligence, external due diligence should be a sail through when the funding rounds happen. This is all inside the organization through these tracks, reviewed daily, because you are filling it and somebody is reviewing it from our team regularly. Of course, the business plan track, all the elements of the business plan which we discussed. There are 17 elements in the business plan. So planning and therefore controlling the trajectory. What you plan, what have you achieved, and do we need any course correction as we grow? And the team track, of course. Does the team have the requisite resources as the stage goes to the next stage of the unicorn journey? Is the team having the right resources? And we've got frameworks, we've got milestones and timelines which are plotted along with this track. So you can imagine 4 tracks and with frameworks, milestones and timelines around these 4 tracks. And the next slide, in fact, is detailing it. Go next. So this is the under compliances. We've got financial, the background check, the legal and shareholder compliances, cap table. Then the strategies, of course, the validation, the VP, BM, BD strategy, resources, the product, resource and organization, market and customer, and the short-term and long-term business plan, which leads to the pitch, of course, and the allies network. So these are the individual elements in these tracks, which we kind of, and at times it seems overawing that there's so much work, but once you install it, it's like a technology system only. You just update the data and it gives you the scores. It's like a technology system. And of course, we will convert it to a tech product also. The plan is to convert it to a tech product. Currently, it's a service model only, but it can easily be productized because it's frameworks and it's data along with the frameworks. Any questions on the tracks? So we understand 4 different tracks and milestones, reviews, and the checks and balances along with the frameworks. Any questions? Yeah, last. So any questions? I've covered my presentation. Last 3 slides on SARTHY after this. Any questions on anything? Happy to answer them. Yeah. Get your VCs early. VCs used to push, get your large VCs early so that we can get an exit. That in the post era is going to change only IPO. So as an angel also, I'll have to wait till IPO, and a company can technically IPO in 3 to 5 years versus raise multiple rounds. We've got SME IPOs. If you look at the data from Amazon, who IPO'd in 1996, to Google, to in our Infosys, they all IPO'd in the first 5 years of their journey. They were startups only. HDFC had a few branches when they IPO'd. So all these are good case studies to follow of the next level investors. Let the PEs come in as your IPO block investors, and the balance can be open to the public. But that brings a lot of commitment to having a healthy balance sheet quickly, instead of postponing, and then realizing it's tough or almost impossible. So the exit is only IPO.
But like again in the case of pre, the
Yeah.
IPO seems to be more of
Put in 3 to 5 years, and then IPO with a 100 crore top line. Why do you want a 3,000 crore top line with a 6,000 crore loss? Plan a IPO with a 100 crore top line with a maybe 10 crore profit.
again in terms of like number, like if you 100, if a IPO is let's say the best or so far the most preferable thing, out of 100, don't you think that one might be like out of 500, or the number of startups actually cracking the IPO, and the way the number of startups are emerging and getting invested at least in early stage. So that ratio.
So as I'm seeing, no, so I'm seeing hundreds of IPOs instead of just 5 to talk about, of smaller startups who have late stage funding coming during the IPO only, not pre. So as I said, this late stage PE VC is zero investment from Tiger last month. They've got tons of cash, 30 billion of powder, but they are scared because they've burned their fingers. Their SoftBank has a billions of dollars quarterly loss. So they are coming now. So 1 lakh startups in India, early stage, today there are 50, 60,000, only 9,000 are funded or maybe less than 10,000 are funded. So I'm seeing the 9,000 going to 50,000. Early stage funding is going to explode, what you mentioned, angels. So even the late stage investors are going to come early and they're going to spread their bets. So expect a good early stage traction with a strong foundation if you have, but you plan IPO early. So let the late stage PE be a bonus, as I see it, on a profitable balance sheet. See, that box has to be created as early as possible in which 100 rupees go in, more than 100, 120, 140 come out. This box has to be created because VCs are realizing all this accumulated loss, they thought it is investment for the future, for Paytm, for PhonePe, but they realized the markets have changed. So I was reading somewhere that all these fintech players are brokers selling insurance and loans without charging brokerage fee also. They're not even charging for providing you the loan or the insurance. What else do? They don't do anything else. So these are weak business models. Why would I need a broker first of all in a direct insurance game like Acco and everyone where there's no broker? I can buy insurance directly from the company. Yeah, I can take debt directly from the company. So they've realized pretty late after burning so many thousands of crores that what did we create? So that model is dead, the pre-era model. Post-era model, small top line is fine, but it should be profitable. And you IPO early. Then you see, it's not that Infosys didn't raise money after that, or Amazon had a 10-year lost journey, but they got money in those 10 years also, no, after IPOing. But they were answerable to the debt, people who gave them debt or people who gave them equity after IPO also to reach profitability quickly. The profitability focus was there from IPO day. So that's the, as I said, the post-era, people will be IPOing early. There will be lots of investors in the early stage. Up to say 10 million, there will be lots of investors. Because these are also down, SoftBanks, Tigers are also looking at, they don't have the infrastructure to support early stage. They were dependent on the Sequoias and the early stage VCs to kind of, but that trust is broken. Right? So they are forced, they'll build infrastructure to come down and do smaller ticket size investments, maybe partner with incubators, accelerators or SARTHY, anyone, they can partner and they can get these early stage deals quickly. Validated by them. I'm not saying that the hallowed names have lost their halo. So that's the pre-post, and that's why the post, anything can be created, and I'm kind of forecasting this will get created. I'm putting my neck in the line and saying that this is going to be the post era, that we'll see a lot of IPOs, a lot of early stage less than 10 million deals with unprofitable or early stage profit plans. So you won't, that 1,000 crore loss era is over. No startup funded in the last 3 years, you'll see a 1,000 crore loss because they realize it's all money down the drain. No moat created or no sustainable advantage created with thousands of crores. No proof. So they've burned their fingers, they've learned their lessons. So when you learn lessons, you change. Got it? So plan for IPO early. Plan for only 2 rounds in this game. And build a sustainable business from day one. Who's stopping us? Any questions? Yeah.
So what are the terms that founders of early stage
50% or more equity. That's the other advantage. So the principal agent problem also gets killed. You are the principal, you are the agent mainly. See, that's the other advantage. So you can play with the, yesterday I was with someone and he was talking about Havells. Havells market cap is 60,000 crores. He's hired BCG and given them a target, make this valuation 1 lakh crores, take what you want. And he owns 65% of the listed company, right? So that's the kind of deals a founder can expect in the future, the 1 lakh crores. Why should I be 10% of a 1 lakh crore versus if I can be 60% of that 1 lakh crore? So those are the right role models to follow. Own good equity of your, and therefore principal agent problem is also killed, and build sustainable 40-year-old, 50-year-old companies which can thrive for 50 years. So like the Infosys and all which they've created. Right? Understand how the principal agent problem is. So you own good value equity, own your equity more. So these early stage investors who take majority equity, they realize they are also putting their neck in the line for the wrong reason. Founder committed fraud, they are answerable technically because they have a board seat, director seat. So in this case, IIT-Delhi case, the distributor put a case also on the Kalari representatives on the board. Of course, they didn't, they had good legal muscle to kind of, because India mein, but technically you are answerable. You own 27% equity of a company. You cannot run away saying, I'm not running the company, I don't know founder ne kya kiya hai. So it's how it's win-win for everyone of founder owning more equity. I'm just giving you the benefits of this post era, founder owning high equity, founder IPOing early and on a good early path to success. And out of this rut of always looking for funds. Yeah. Because if you look at the other side, the effort to raise funds by founders, if even 30% of that effort would be going into building sustainable industries would be born. Even 30% I'm saying. Kitna effort karna padta hai? So much effort to just fundraise.
So startup founders will all be like spending a lot of energy in raising the money.
That's going to change because already it was going down. Now it's bottomed. This effort to return for fundraise, it's bottom. You will give up after a point. आप छोड़ दोगे कि यार let's build a sustainable enterprise. ये what is this game I am playing which lose मतलब नहीं. With me, how it's a win-win-win for everyone. If you IPO early, you have big equity as founders, and then you scale your company to 1 lakh crores inside. Yeah. Any last question before I go to Sarthi? No. Yeah. So,
Sir, I have a question.
go ahead.
Why SARTHY name?
I'll come to that. Yeah. See, Sarthy has, I christened this company Sarthy because Sarthy stayed with me for long. And the beauty of Sarthy is, if you know the Arjun Krishna talk, he says it's your battle. Yeah. It's your battle and you win it, you are going to get glory. You lose it, you are going to get glory. Both sides it's glory only. But if you don't fight it, people will kind of say in history will say that you were a coward and you ran away. Yeah. So actually Sarthy is the mirror which keeps bringing realities to the founders and of course the investors also in the game. Oh, this is the reality. Now it's your choice to take this path or take this path. I have to show you the pros and cons of all the paths using the frameworks. The heroes are the frameworks, as I said. So in Christian case, his Gyan was the hero. In our case, our frameworks are the heroes which we've created. And we play the Sarthy role only. It's your battle. Because at times people shoot the consultant or the advisor saying, boss, you told me to take this. It happens in the investor-startup relation also. In this IIT-Delhi case, he would have not done this, taking that load of reassurance on himself if the investor would have not pushed him to, yeah, you do this, don't depend on GIC or others. So maybe investor misguided him or he can shoot the investor saying, you told me and I did this. But in this case, again and again, it's your battle, it's your battle, it's your battle. So either you win or you lose, take choices using strategy or take choices using trial and error or advice from your investors, or these are your options, do whatever best is for you believe. So it's the mirror. If I may in one word say Sarthy, it's the mirror. And of course inspired by the Gita given to Arjun by Krishna. So we've got three arms. The VIP arm is the VC funding arm where we do assessment and give access to VCs. In fact, Priyanshu is from the VIP team only. He looks after the VIP piece where you've got almost 200 VCs in our database, 50 VCs, strong relations, another VCs, angel networks, family offices, all this comes in the VIP. And we were rejecting 80% using our strategic assessment. We used to have a 2-week assessment of the startup, and then if there's no critical gaps through the assessment, we used to give them access to VCs. So that's how Minds was born, Mentor Investor Network for Disruptive Startups. Now the Minds program has mentor investors. So Sarthy in fact built this marriage of mentor and investor. So all these people who are mentoring in that cohort will be investing also into the startup of that cohort when the startup becomes ready for funding. So we are saying you have these critical gaps, let's fix those gaps together, our guidance, your actions, and at the right time we'll give you funding from the mentor investor pool first, followed by the angel network. So this is win-win and the effort is highly conserved. Instead of you reaching out to angel networks, we'll do that for you. You reaching out to other VCs, we'll do that for you. We have our own angel network, therefore it's a co-investment normally for the third party, where Sarthy is doing one part of the investment and they do the other part, be it the family office or the VC or the angel network. So we are kind of conserving resources for the startup founder, saying first we'll tell you you are investable, we'll work 3 times harder because we are the experts in this domain, allow us to do that. If you are not fundable, join the Minds program, we'll guide you how to fix these critical gaps and then access investors. So strategy is at the core, and We have a 5-minute test also on our website. You can take that test. It will give you a score on your investment readiness. 10 questions on a scroll and you can know. Yeah. Pre-revenue startups, we recommend at least early customer validation through revenues. So get to a particular revenue mode before jumping into the investor pool, because at times the assumptions may be different when you actually, when the tire hits the road, then only you get real feedback that okay, this is the pros and these are the cons. So try and quickly convert your MVP to a POC through revenues and then access customers. Unless it's deep tech or it's like you need, then government is, I'm saying, I salute the government in terms of the number of grants they've given blindly to as many startups who applied for grants. It's very easy to get a 10, 20, 30 lakh grant on a idea which you may not work. I know founders who in college, they're studying in college, applied for a grant, got a grant, didn't even spend 10% on the idea they wanted to work on. So the government, no corruption, no middlemen in this game. Directly you apply and you get the grant. So that's the first step. If you want money for your MVP, for your early, get the grant. There's a central grant, there's a separate DST grant. If you're sitting in IIT, grant becomes much more easier. But that you can access immediately without waiting for anything. Your POC, MVP, revenue. But if you want investor, then that early revenue is critical. More and more investors are asking, what's the validation? And validation equal to revenue is common sense. Yeah, revenue hai to validation hai. Yeah, go next. So mine's cohort 8 is starting this week, in fact Thursday, like that. Every cohort has 8 to 10 startups, 2 to 4 new mentor investors, and we've done around 9 fundings through our angel network and done a good number of successes through our VIP program also. You can check the website for all the details. So as I said, SARTHY is the wherewithal for both handholding, which I am today, I'll be meeting investors rest of the week, and I'm going to propose this only to them. That was, get the strategic control in place for your investees. It will be win-win-win for everyone, for your funding also, for the founders also. And of course, there may be negatives which will come out, but it's good to face them early than postpone that, because kabhi to niklega na, EY ke audit mein niklega, kabhi to it will come out. So better to hear that negative on day 20 or day 50 instead of too much on day 100. Yeah. So that's the, install this control, strategic control. Funding access inside through own engine network, funding access outside through others. Yeah, go ahead.
No, this next cohort you said.
Yeah.
It is an online cohort.
Online cohort on Zoom. 4 to 6 hours, 4 hours investment in a week over 4 to 5 weeks for the base camp, and followed by champions another 6 months. The details are there on the website. Sarthy.vip is the website. Yeah, go ahead. This is the team. We've got 4 based in the US. So this scale, I used to get enamored by X to 10X and all this. Everybody invests a lot of energy in scaling startups. Yeah. So technically our scale is what we call the BD plan. We support. And because we have this as partial, there are 20 mentor investors, total 4 in the US. So any scale challenge through link-ups, any scale challenge through experts in that domain is there, because there are 20 mentor investors. So we've got IT professionals, we've got patent, we've got marketing professionals, we've got legal companies. So all come from different domains. 4 are based in the US. So any such scale challenge, I think, happily met through the team which Sarthy has been able to create. And of course, we are all senior industry professionals. Therefore, the DD part of what is right, wrong is so easy for someone who spent life in corporate. So as I said, my first day in Whirlpool, there was a 150-page manual which I was made to read. What is okay, what is not okay. Yeah. So it's all inherent in the best practices from across the globe. Yeah, last slide, I think. Yeah, that's it which I had. I think I'm good on time. Okay, I'm good on time. Yeah, 1.5 hours. Any thoughts, comments, questions? Thanks. No, I really enjoyed. In fact, I gave a TED talk also on startup, in which I've committed the rest of my life to the startup ecosystem, because I enjoy what I'm doing, and I believe there's a lot of value which can be created together. India has so many opportunities. Every 5th person in the world is an Indian. The world is flat. So many opportunities available for us to disrupt any space which we want to. And I'm proud of Nano. They have created an innovative product from India. Is really nice to know. And futuristic, because pollution is a global challenge. So that's the power which we have. We have to harness it rightly. That's the good. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. I'm available for one-on-ones. I have a few visitors also, so if anyone wants to discuss their individual startup, I will be spending time. Yeah, we will. I'm here. Yeah. I'm here, don't worry. I'm here till 4:30. आप in fact prioritize खाली someone या प्रियंशु आप just समझ लीजिए, give a slot.
Sure.
Just coordinate with Priyanshu, give you a slot. Okay. Thank you. Thanks so much. Thank you.